Eric Martin here, and welcome to another setup for Gandhian values and ethics. And today we're going to set up what's labeled in the website as units 5 and 6 for the Bhagavad Gita. And really, what that means is 2 weeks. That's how long it's going to take for us to cover this material. I don't know if I'm really slowing things down a little bit. I would like to think I am, to give us time to catch up a little bit on the next chapter with Gandhi. But also, the Bhagavad Gita is worth reading slowly and getting into some of the deeper meanings of it. So I hope that by doing this over the course of 2 weeks, maybe we can get a little bit more out of it. Now, what am I looking for you to get out of this particular setup? Well, here's what we're doing this week. The first thing is there is a video on Hinduism I want you to watch off Films on Demand. It's pretty good. But for folks who don't have any exposure whatsoever to the Hindu religion, it's kind of essential for understanding the Gita and also for understanding Gandhi. Now, you all have some exposure to it just by reading Gandhi's autobiography. If you want to go further into some ideas about Hindu religion, there's a few other videos on Films on Demand. There's a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube. Use your good sense and filter stuff that looks like it is, respectable, and take a look at it and get you some more detail. But the one I want you to watch, I've got the link to, and I want you to take notes. Okay, I want you to take notes, and I have the setup for what I want you to take notes on. And then, before you read the Gita, I want you to watch the 30-minute video that I've got linked on here from Films on Demand, which is this Bhagavad Gita, the Invitation to World Literature. They go through the Gita, kind of, and explain a lot of the stuff that you're supposed to get out of it. So in lieu of a reading guide, you'll notice there's not an official reading guide up on the site that says be on the lookout for this and be on the lookout for that, because in many ways this video does that. So that's how you should take your notes. What should I be on the lookout for as I read the Gita? And then I have a bunch of things for you to take your notes on that particular video. And those things will also apply to the reading of the actual Gita. Now, in terms of, there is a short, another one of those 10-question assessments, right? To just make sure we've done the reading. So make sure you take that assessment. And I want all that to be done by this Saturday. I think that's the Saturday the 18th. I want you to make sure you've seen the videos and that you're into things, okay? Now, in terms of your reading of the Bhagavad Gita, as I have mentioned before in our introductory video, there are many, many versions of the Gita, many translations, many commentaries. Gandhi did one. It's pretty good. But the one I want you to use is this one by Barbara Stoler Miller. Okay? And I've mentioned that before. It's not available online. You'll have to pick it up. It's not expensive. But her translation is pretty good for someone who's never really been exposed to this stuff before. So I want us to use this translation. All right, so make sure you get this translation. Then, how are you going to read it? Well, this is how I want you to take your notes. On the one hand, we're trying to apply it to our own lives. We're trying to apply it to see the connections between the Gita and Gandhi. And we are trying to come to some conclusions about what this work says about how do you decide what is right and what is wrong, ethical issues. And on the other hand, it is it's a classic work in religion and in philosophy, and in some ways it deserves just to be read for the pure pleasure of finding out what this is all about. So what I want you to do is, the Gita itself is broken up into 18 chapters or teachings. And I would like for you to, take note of particular verses that you found meaningful, particular concepts that you found to be able to connect into Gandhi, particular issues that you find with ethics, and all this stuff that's going to come up in that Bhagavad Gita video that's going to set the whole thing up for you. But really what I want you to do in terms of your note-taking is I want you to be able to summarize each chapter. I want you to be able to summarize, this is what happened in this chapter. These were the concepts that were introduced. This is what went on. Okay? And just take your notes like that over all 18 chapters. And the reason I want you to do that, one, is I think that's a good way to learn how to break down a book. But we're going to do two different discussions over the Gita. And one of those discussions is, and it's listed as our teaching by teaching or chapter by chapter breakdown. And I want each of you to take the responsibility of describing the main concepts, the main things that went on in a chapter. Give us the chapter breakdown. And then the rest of us will respond to it with things you might have missed, things that we didn't catch, particular verses, that kind of thing. I have taken the liberty of doing chapter 1 for y'all, so you can kind of see what I mean. Now, the thing is, with chapter 1, a lot of it was a historical setup, not so much a lot of the philosophical type stuff that you might get into. Don't freak out about this stuff. Let's just see how it goes. This stuff's fun. Now, here's the other thing, though. I want y'all to do this discussion in order. All right, so I've done chapter 1. So the next person needs to do chapter 2. And the next person needs to do chapter 3. And go ahead. Read chapter 1 and then read my breakdown. And then read chapter 2 and write your description. And then read chapter 3 and see what the next person writes. You can do it that way. Also, in the directions for this, I wanted to avoid some sort of thing where, all right, I'm ready to do chapter 3, and I've written all this stuff, and by the time I hit submit, I looked up and somebody had already, written all this stuff. So I've tried to set this thing up so you can claim a spot. All right? So that you can, and read about this in the directions, okay? The directions are on the discussion boards, where you can go in and say, chapter 3, reserved, summary will be up in 1 hour. So if you're claiming the spot, you're telling us, I'm working on it right now. In 1 hour, it will be up. And so if you go to the discussion board and you see chapter 3 says reserved, summary will be up in an hour, then you go chapter 4 and do the same thing. We'll see how that works. But this way, we'll kind of combine our notes for the chapter. And what I'm trying to recreate here is, if I were doing this discussion in a live class, I would require everybody to have their notes set up just like this. And then I would just start with the person to my left and say, all right, start with chapter 1. What do we got? And then, did he get it good enough? All right, chapter 2. What do we have? Did she cover it well enough? What was missing? And I would just kind of do the discussion like that. So we're going to try that here. That discussion needs to be completed by Wednesday, February 22nd. All right? See, I got a little bit of time to do that. It'd be better if it was done before then, but that's the amount of time that you have. And then right on the heels of that, there's a second discussion we're going to have. Okay? And this is the discussion, grand conclusions. I bet you can guess what those are. We're going to make some brilliant analyses about the broader meaning of the Bhagavad Gita. And we're going to do this one more along the lines of a conversation. The way those Gandhi conversations have gone so far, where everyone puts one up. On the one hand, I've been real happy with what y'all have written. On the other hand, it's not really like a discussion. It's like people turning in papers, and I haven't really tried it that way before. So I'm going to go back to what I've done before, which is to try to get something started, and we'll each respond to it. We're going to be detailed. We're not going to do a whole bunch of Me Too's. And we're going to try to work out, once we've gone through all the chapters, we're going to try to work out, all right, so what's the real ethical questions here? What's the real moral dilemmas being faced? What's the real connection to Gandhi? What's the real connection to my own life? And y'all go through the website. You'll see cleaner details on this stuff. So that's how we're going to approach the next 2 weeks. It's super fun. Take your time with it. The reading is not hard. On the one hand, you can crank through this in a couple of nights. On the other hand, I don't think that's the way you ought to approach it. This is stuff that's fun to read a chapter in the morning and a chapter at lunchtime and a chapter in the afternoon, chapter at bedtime. At least I think it's fun that way. Super fun book. Okay, that is the story with this. And then a couple of y'all have asked me about, coming up with some kind of maybe a summary on what we've been doing. The question has come up, well, I read the Gandhi material, but I'm not sure I got out of it what I was supposed to get out of it. Now, I'm not trying to take the completely easy way out here. However, this is a Gen Ed capstone course, and we're reading philosophy, and we're reading ethics, and we're reading religion, and we're reading history, and I'd kind of like to see what you think you're supposed to be getting out of it. That's kind of fun, And so on the one hand, I don't know. I'd kind of rather you guys read and then get out of it whatever you're going to get out of it, because sometimes I think when you tell people what you're supposed to get out of it, you kind of load the dice. On the other hand, I totally get it. And so I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll try to come up with some kind of short summaries or something like that to just kind of reassure folks that you're on the right track with your readings and things like that. Anyway, that's it from me. This week, I am going to keep working on deals for this course and just try to get us all cleaned up for going forward. If y'all have any questions about anything going on, y'all feel free to call me at the office. It's going to be better to send me an email through the Blackboard server. We can set up a Skype or a FaceTime conversation if we need to. I hope you're having fun and enjoy your enlightenment.